here to interview Brooke Rampton, and a few minutes late because my live wasn't loading for some reason. The connection was bad or something. So I'm going to introduce Brooke while I wait for her to join this account, and then we can get started. So Brooke is the mother of 5 children, and she has homeschooled them all over the last 10 years. They have traveled to between 60 to 70 countries. Okay, there she is. Hi, Brooke. Okay. Hey, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, just a second. I'm doing that interview. So I was just starting to introduce you. Do you want to share some things about your kids over the years? Okay, in a minute.
Sure.
Okay. That you have enjoyed and seen the fruits of homeschooling. Just do a little introduction for yourself and the great things your kids have done. Okay.
Sure. So my name's Brooke Rampton. My husband is Adam. This is our 11th year homeschooling. So we have 5 kids and 3 are still at home. So my oldest, Adam, in a couple of weeks is turning 20 years old, and he is a full-time missionary right now for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So he served a year in Brazil, and now he is in Northern California, up in the Roseville, California mission, and he's coming home in April, and then he will be going to BYU, Idaho.
I didn't realize he's in Roseville right now.
Yeah.
That's
Why
crazy. I
do you say
had no
that?
idea he got transferred there.
Yeah.
I love Roseville. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful area.
Yeah, he's been in Loomis and Roseville and Auburn, and now he's up by Redding. So,
Okay.
and
Awesome.
he'll be done in a couple months. So we're excited about that.
It's amazing how time flies.
I know. Our next one, Kate, is 17, and she's down at BYU and loving it. She lives down on campus. She's studying physics, and she's doing great. And she's also our music girl. So she just loves piano, violin, guitar. She loves music and physics. And
She's
then
a
our
woman
son,
of
Joseph.
many talents.
Yeah, she is.
Many
She's great.
talents. Yeah.
And then Joseph's 14. He's kind of our outdoor guy. So he just loves, mountain biking, hiking, being wild and free. So
Yes.
that's Joseph. And then we have Noah, who's 12. He's kind of like our little engineer, loves to build and design, things like that. And then our youngest is Anna. She's 10. And right now she is just really interested in baking, sewing, French, and she's in a little theater group. So
so many things
family.
going on for her.
Yeah.
She's so darling.
Yeah.
I love it. So I'm just going to ask you I have 9 homeschool questions for you, and I might throw a 10th one on at the end, and it might throw you, it might not, but we'll see.
Okay,
if we
sounds
have time.
good.
Okay, so what was the catalyst? I know you had your oldest kids in school until what, 3rd grade, 4th grade?
Yeah, Adam went up until 4th grade. Kate was in 2nd.
Okay.
We took him out.
Yes, I remember seeing you at the elementary school, my first year teaching in this neighborhood. Yeah. And okay, so what was the catalyst that led to you homeschooling?
So I would say a few things. I'd always had homeschooling kind of in the back of my mind. One reason being was we were moving around a lot. We were moving with my husband's job every year. And some areas, schools were great, some areas not so great. And so in the back of my mind, I thought we might end up in an area where I don't love the schools. And so I want to be prepared to homeschool if that's the case. So I had kind of done some research about it, talked to some friends that had been homeschooling for a long time. And so I thought, if I ever feel like, okay, now's the time, I'll be ready to go. So the time came in about 2010 because we ended up taking a job in Dubai, moving overseas. And so we thought, okay, now's a great time to try it. We thought we would do it for a year or 2 and then put the kids back in school. But we ended up just loving it. So I think the main catalyst for us, number 1, I think was family time. When my kids were in school, we just had Adam and Kate, 4th grade, 2nd grade, and I was already feeling the crunch. Like things were busy. We had homework in the evenings. We had after school activities. I became like a taxi driver. I was like, oh no, we've got 3 kids coming up going into school. And I thought, there's just no way. So family time was a big concern for me. Another thing was just flexibility. I like to be able to just like pick up and go. If we want to go on a road trip, if we want to go do something. I just didn't like the fact that I was like, well, I guess we can't do that because so-and-so's in class, or so-and-so has this project, or we've got homework. So that was a concern for me. And then another concern for me, mostly for my oldest, Adam, was I felt like by 4th grade, he was just kind of checking out of school. He's such a good kid, but he had no free time. He loved to read, but it was nothing that he was reading in school that he was interested in. I just felt like he kind of was developing this attitude of, I don't like school. I don't want to go to school. I don't like what I'm learning. But he loved to learn, and he was a great kid, but I just felt like he was kind of really losing this motivation to learn. So I think those 3 things were kind of going on. And then we took this job overseas and we thought, okay, now's just a good time to try it. So that's when we started.
Wow. That's such a brave move. First to just move to Dubai, and then to change your whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
Very brave of you. It's pretty amazing. So what was the hardest transition from school life to homeschool life?
So for me, the first year of homeschooling was tough. It was really tough. And looking back on it, this was my major mistake. I was trying to pick up basically a classroom and plop it down into my home and kind of just do school.
Go. Yeah.
So I was kind of trying to just recreate that. Everything that I knew that they did at school, that's what I was going to do. We were just going to do it at home. And it was tough. It was like burnout, tantrums. It was, I couldn't keep up with the schedule. It was just really overwhelming. And then by that 2nd year, I really learned, okay, I know what my kids need. I know how they learn. I know what's going to work for our family. But it was more of just, I think, having the confidence to say, okay, our school's going to look a little bit different than like a public school room.
Yeah, we're not
going
to
to
fit
what's
into
going to work for us. Yeah.
We're not going to try to fit into that box.
Yeah, but it's hard because especially when you start homeschooling, everyone's asking you, well, are you doing this? Well, how many hours of school are you doing a day? Well, are your kids learning this? And the first year I tried to just check all the boxes because I was scared I was going to miss something. So I was trying to check everything off. Okay, we're doing all of these things. And I just didn't enjoy it. I don't think the kids enjoyed it either. I think we got our stuff done. I think we checked off the boxes, but we were like exhausted at the end of the day. And halfway through the year, we were dreading it. I would be like, okay, time for school. And we would all be like, oh, I don't really
that heavy
want to do that. So by the 2nd year, I felt like, okay, we're just going to do our own thing. We're going to do what works for us. I know what works for my kids. I know what they need. I know how they learn. And that's when we really started to enjoy homeschooling and see the benefits of it too.
I don't know if your kids are like my kids, but my kids, it's like one girl loves writing, the rest hate it. One girl loves math, the rest hate it. You know, and so it's like they all have their little niches that they excel in. But then when it's like, okay, we all need to spread this out evenly amongst everyone, it doesn't work. It's like, let the girl who loves writing go for it and go. And if she doesn't love math, then keep math, you know, minuscule. And so you've probably adapted that way as well with your kids. It sounds like that you, as I've heard your story over the years and how you capitalized on their strengths, I'm just amazed at like what the fruits of that and being able to see how your kids have excelled in their own little niches, you know? So
yeah, and I think what you said about the girl that loves to write, let her write. Like, I really believe that. Obviously, the kids are so different, different interests, different strengths. And I think the greatest part about homeschooling is you let them go as far as they want, in a sense. So, you know, we've got kids that love crafts and art, things like that. You know, my son Joseph, he would never in his life sit down at a table and want to do crafts and art.
Yeah.
But he will go all the live long day learning about history, and he loves that. You know, and that's something that was hard for me to understand when my kids were in school here was, you know, little Adam wanted to read and he wanted to learn about certain things, but the school system just wasn't set up to allow him to do that. It was, no, we can't do that because we have to do this. And then we have to do this, and then we have to do this, and then we have to do this.
For a allotted amount of time. Yeah.
And so when we're homeschooling, it's, wow, if we're just in the zone and we're loving it and learning all this stuff, I'm not going to say, okay, time's up. Now we're going to do this. We just keep going.
Yes.
So it's great.
I love it. I love it. So let's see. What does a typical day look like for you right now? Because over the years, I know it's probably evolved. And what would you say, maybe like the typical day over all the years that you've been teaching your kids?
Yeah. So a typical day for us right now, and obviously this changes if we're traveling, but a typical day for us right now would be Adam and I get up before the kids, and we do kind of all of our stuff that we want to do on our own. So kind of spiritual study, breakfast, exercise, all of that kind of stuff. We've been starting school about 9. So I would say school from 9 to 12 is like a good block for us. When I say those 3 hours, because a lot of people that, especially that are not homeschoolers, they're like, how do you do school in 3 hours when my kids are at school for 7?
Yeah.
So 3 hours of school means we don't have any interruptions. So I'm not on my phone. I'm not trying to do laundry at the same time, you know, things like that. We are like focused on school. So we're all in the same room. We have a kind of school room downstairs that we are all together in the same room. We do some things together. And we do something separately. So in those 3 hours, I kind of will rotate through the kids. So we might have a kid reading on the couch, and then we might have a kid on the computer at the desk, and then we might have a kid, you know, in the next room playing, you know, practicing musical instrument or something like that. And I kind of move through them. But I would say we do school 9 to 12. Stop for lunch and kind of a break. And then I would say in the afternoon for an hour or 2, we do kind of all of our extra stuff. So our extra stuff would be like kids that are learning another language, apps that they're working on, extra things that they're working on, programs that we love, like a master class or a Khan Academy or something like that, or goals that they're working on, just anything that they're interested in. So then we're done by the time all the other kids are out of school, you know, 2 or 2:30. Then we don't do anything in the evenings and nothing on the weekends. So no homework or projects or anything like that in the evenings or on the weekends. That's mostly just family time. Yeah. That would be like a typical day for us.
What your typical day looks like. I love it. I love that idea of after you get that school time in, you have this open amount of time where they just discover and seek after the hobbies and interests they have. And I kind of implemented that with my kids from you because you inspired me to do that. And that's their favorite part of the day. It's just like,
it's great.
Yeah, we have all sorts of projects going on because of I call it mission time. Do you call it mission time?
So I kind of call it specialties, like whatever they're specializing in.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great because you see their little minds going. It's what they're really interested in and what they want to do. And, you know, a lot of times I think, wouldn't that be great if adults did that too?
Yeah.
Like
I
in the
wish.
middle of the afternoon, I'm like, Well, I kind of want to have a specialty time and just like sit down and read a book or
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kids are the
Learn
same
all the
way. And
things you haven't learned.
I think that's when the best learning happens too. I think
Yeah.
the best learning happens, it's not coming from mom saying, okay, and then we're going to memorize this and then we're going to do this. The best learning comes from them just figuring it out.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Can I ask you, do you allow screens? Do you have screen time?
we do, but it's so we have 3 kids at home now. Joseph's not interested in screens at all.
Yeah.
So
He's the outdoorsy.
that's not really ever been a thing for him.
Which is such a blessing.
Yeah, it's great.
For a boy to not be into like video games, that's huge.
Yeah, he really is not at all. He just never has been. It's just never been an interest to him. But Noah and Anna do.
Okay.
Screens. So they do 30 minutes in the morning is kind of our thing.
Just
so it's
feedback.
kind of like getting school stuff ready or different things like that, finishing up my stuff. So they, are done by the time school starts, around 9 and stuff. But if they get up in the morning and they've done their chores and they've had their breakfast and they're ready for the day and it's not school time yet, then they get on screens, but it's like 30 minutes and then they turn it off. So
we do ours a little bit at the end of the day, but I am liking that idea of just getting it kind of out of the way. And so they're fully like, it's not the carrot at the end of the day. It's, it's just off their minds after that. So I like that idea.
It's nice to, when they're done, then you just put them away. You just put them away
it's a non-issue
for the day,
the rest of the day.
And they're done and they're not asking for it. And it's not like, I don't like the idea of kids thinking, okay, well, I did this, so can now I have screen time? Yeah. Okay, well, I did really good at school today, and so like, can I have some extra screen time? Yeah. So it's just, if they want to do it in the morning and their morning stuff is done, then they get on for 30 minutes and we put them away. And then it's great because when you're done with school, then they're outside, their friends are home from school, and it's just not even a question.
They're motivated that way. I like it. Okay, how did you prepare your kids for college? What did you do? What would you suggest? And how much did you stress about having them prepared for college?
So I wouldn't say that I stressed too much about college. And the reason why I say that is because I started asking around a lot from other homeschoolers and then colleges themselves, college counselors and the admissions offices about what they were seeing with the trends of homeschoolers going to university. And all of the feedback was really positive. Everyone that I talked to was like, homeschoolers transition really well. We see great things from homeschoolers. The number one reason, because they know how to manage themselves. They've been doing it for so long. If you think of like a university schedule, it's really close to a homeschool schedule, And so when Adam and Kate were, I would say around 14 or something, I started to kind of treat them like university students. I would say to them all the time, when you're in university, professors don't care if you don't show up to class. No one's going to be on you saying, oh, remember to turn in that paper. Oh, you're going to be late for class. You know what I mean? And so I just kind of really took some giant steps back from like managing them and just let them manage themselves. And I think that's one of the greatest preparations for university. The more admissions offices that I talked to, this is what they would tell me over and over and over again. Every single one of them said, every year we admit a lot of really, really smart kids. Straight A students wrote great essays on their applications, had high scores on their placement tests, and then they get here to university and they cannot function. Wow. They can't function in like a social way, a mental health way, and just managing their own life day-to-day way. And they were like, we don't really see that with homeschoolers. And so my focus wasn't really on the academic side because that just comes.
Yes.
through normal homeschooling. My focus for college preparation was more on like life skills. So being independent, being confident,
Mm-hmm.
you know, figuring things out for yourself and not giving up. What to do when you get discouraged or when you feel overwhelmed, how to deal with stress, you know,
Yeah.
how to manage your time,
Yeah.
things like that. And as I've talked to Adam and Kate now that they're away from home and on their own, I just really think that was the most beneficial
The
to
most
them.
important.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you send them out from your home to a career or to college or to whatever they decide to do when they become adults, I think the best thing that you can give them is just this feeling of, yeah, I can do this. I can figure this out. I'm smart. I'm not going to know everything, but I can figure it out. I can
Yeah.
manage myself, you know,
Yes.
life is good. You really don't want to send your teenager out to university where they are scared. What am I going to do if I don't know something? What
Mm-hmm.
am I going to do if this happens? What am I going to do if this happens? And they just shut down, because I can guarantee you those things are going to happen.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
best thing is for them to be prepared for change and to be flexible and to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, there's going to be some disappointments and there's going to be some hard times, but I know how to deal with that and
Yeah.
keep moving on. So I
Yeah.
focus more, I feel like, on kind of life
Life.
skills more than
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. So needed. So important. Um, so tell us about travel and how travel came in to teach those life skills, and then tell us about your travel experience as a family and how you pulled it off. It's pretty remarkable what you guys pulled off.
So when we were living overseas, so we lived in several places. We lived up in Canada for a little while. We did a year back and forth going to Italy when my husband had a work assignment there. I was pregnant with our fourth, so we didn't move everyone over there permanently, but we were kind of going back and forth for a year. And then we did 5 years in Dubai, and then we did 2 years living in London. And then when we left London, I just had this really strong impression that I just wanted to travel full time with our family before the older kids started leaving home. So we ended up traveling for about a year and a half around the world. And so how travel started with our homeschooling was we were living in Dubai. The kids were pretty young. And I remember Kate got really into like Greek history. I think she was probably about 10 at the time, maybe 9.
Wow. Yeah.
She was kind of working on this Greek unit of history. She got really into it, really interested in it. And so I thought, we're going to leave Dubai for the summer. We've got about 4 months. Our plan was to come back to the US and see family. We had a home here in America that we were going to come back to for the summer. And I thought, why not kind of take advantage of this? And she's really interested in it. And let's go to Greece and see what happens. Anna was just a baby at that. I think she was maybe like 1 or 1.5. So it was kind of crazy, the 7 of us.
Yeah.
We were like quite the group,
Yeah.
7, you know, these 5 little kids getting on a plane. But we ended up just going to Greece and spending some time there. And that's where it all really like clicked for me. Totally. I was like, I can see how homeschooling and travel just hand in hand work so well together, because here we have little Kate as a 9 or 10-year-old as like our tour guide,
Yeah.
going around Athens, and she was so excited. And we all just loved it. We loved the experience. It just became like this really great school field trip where we were learning about the government, and we were visiting the museums, and we were trying the food, and we were talking to the locals, and we were learning about the culture and the traditions and the dress
Love
and
it.
the money. And you know, and it just made me realize, okay, it's great for the kids to read about this in a book. It's awesome for them to learn about it online, But to go there in person, I thought, all right, this is going to stay with them forever. They're going to remember this. When they can see it in real life, talk to the people, have those experiences, they just don't forget it.
Yeah.
It becomes so real to them.
Yes.
And so that was kind of my first experience where I was like, okay, I can see how traveling is going to be a huge part of our homeschooling experience. And so after that, we just ended up traveling as much as we could. We stayed at that trip, we stayed in Greece for a little while. Then we went to Sweden. We ended up staying in Sweden for about 4 months. And it was just such a learning experience because with my kids being raised in Dubai and then going to Sweden for 4 months, everything was different.
Completely opposite.
Everything was so different. You know, the landscape and the food and the people and everything was so different. And so after that trip, we just traveled as much as we could, and we kind of planned it around what the kids were interested in, what they were learning about, what we wanted them to experience. And so that's kind of how our traveling started.
Amazing. And so how long did you travel after that, and what continents, countries, what are some of them that you went to?
So we kind of have the kids take turns planning the trips and kind of where they want to go and what they want to experience. And so we've, you know, when we were in the Middle East, obviously we did a ton of the Middle East. So places like Oman and Abu Dhabi and Jordan and Israel and those places are just so rich in history, and being American, so different than like anything I had experienced before. We just fell in love with that culture and that area of the world. When we were living in England, we just did as much of Europe as we could. So we just loved that. We loved the mountains in Europe, and we love the culture and just that. And honestly, homeschooling in Europe is really interesting because number one, I never met any other homeschoolers the entire time we were there, because it's like against the law to homeschool.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there were no like, you know, homeschool groups or kind of like support.
You had to be secretive.
Right, it was interesting. I mean, it was just our little family. But on the flip side of that, homeschooling in Europe is so interesting because the history of it is amazing. I mean, you can learn all about a castle and the family that was there and the royal lines and everything that happened there, and then you can go there. Yes. And you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, homeschooling in Europe was really amazing. So we just tried to do as much as we could. We did a lot of Eastern Europe. We did Western. We did Scandinavia. We did some of the islands, you know, in the Mediterranean, and it was a great experience. We've loved it. And then we've done a lot of Asia as well. My family is from the Philippines, and so it was important for us to take our kids there to the Philippines. And then we did, you know, like Singapore and Malaysia and India and Thailand. And it's just good to get the kids out of their comfort zone. It's good to expose them to things that they're not used to. Yeah. And all good things come of it. A lot of people say, I remember especially when we took the kids to India, a lot of people said, are you sure you really want to do that? Like, I don't know if it's safe. It's like, I don't know, there's just so much poverty. It's going to be hard for them to see. And I was like, I really want my kids to see that.
Bring it on, right?
The world doesn't revolve around them.
Yes.
You know, there's different ways that people are living. There's different things that people are dealing with. And you just keep that communication open with the kids. And so we did see in India, for example, some really difficult situations. But at the same time, my kids came out of that experience being very, very grateful for the freedom that they have, for the resources that they have, for the education that they have.
The
And also,
cleanliness.
yeah, and also, they left that country saying to me, people are really good all over the world.
Yeah.
And those are the things that you want your kids to learn, that they see someone very, very different from you in very different circumstances than you, but
Yeah.
they can look at those people and say, well, those people are so good.
Yeah.
They love their family. They're so kind.
Yeah.
Like, they were so nice to me. I loved talking to them. Those are the lessons that you learn through travel that I'm really
Yeah.
grateful for.
I can't imagine a better education than that, you know?
Yeah.
All of those things you just listed, like the world doesn't revolve around them. People around the world, however different, they are good and they have desires and purposes and things that they need to fulfill in their lives. So that is so neat. I love it.
Yeah, I'll just share one story really quick about
Okay.
that. I just thought when you said that, when we were in Indonesia, we were on the island of Bali, and we woke up really early in the morning and went to this temple there. I think, if I remember right, the temple was called Tanah Lot, and it was gorgeous, and it was kind of out on this little kind of island, super sacred place in their culture. And as we were leaving the temple, I remember there was this group of girls that were in like uniforms, and they looked like they were, maybe 12, 13, 14 years old. And they were kind of following us around the grounds. And so then we stopped and we talked to them, and our guide was kind of translating for us. And he said, they haven't met any Americans before, and they wanted to tell you that they're in school. This is a school trip, and they're in school, and most of their friends are already married. They get married really, really young and don't have an education, but these girls are in school. And I was able to I was so proud of them, and my heart was just touched to see these cute girls choosing to stay in school, and they were so thankful for their education. And we hugged them and we took pictures with them and tried to talk to them a little bit and stuff. But it was just an experience that will always stay with me. And I remember, telling my kids this, and my kids saying, wow, we just kind of take it for granted that we can learn whatever we want, and that we can do school every day. And I was like, yeah, there's millions of people around the world that don't even have that option that you have.
Yeah.
And right there, I think, isn't that a neat lesson for kids to learn? Because if their friends now that are in school say, ugh, I hate school, it's so boring, I hate that we have to go, it's lame. My kids are like, you're so lucky that you get to do school. There's millions of people around the world that would love to be in your position.
Yeah.
So
just be allowed to grow into an adult before they have to take on adult responsibilities, like getting married. That's so interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Girls get married so young there. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So what do you do on difficult days, or where you hit burnout, you hit overwhelm? What do you do on those days?
Well, those days happen to all of us, right?
Yeah.
I think it's very different for every person and every family. For me personally, I have to just forget the schedule. And I would say this happens probably once or twice a month for sure for me, where I just feel like, okay, I need a change. We're just going to throw the schedule out the door for the day. And it's totally fine. It's totally fine. I don't know why as women we have such a hard time doing that. But sometimes as women we'll be totally burnt out, and then we just keep going. We keep going. And, oh, we have to do this. We have to do this. And I think it's fine with homeschooling to throw the schedule out the window. So I feel like if we're all kind of getting burnt out, me especially, the best thing that works for me is we throw the schedule out the window and we go do something outside. I'm such an outdoors person,
Yes.
that I can spend half a day outside in nature and then I'm good to go.
Yeah. You're refreshed.
Yeah. And then I'm
It
like
recharges you.
100% better teacher and better mom. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's worth it. So yeah, we will, you know, go ski for half a day or go on a hike or, you know, what we love to do still. And my kids are getting older now and we still do it when it's good weather outside. We pack a big bag with food and some school stuff, some hammocks, some balls, some jump ropes, and we just go to the park and we are there all day long. So, you know, maybe the kids do some reading, but we play, we have a picnic, and then I'm like, this thought always comes to me of, okay, this is why I chose to homeschool.
It's on those days.
Good.
Yeah. That's
so I think it's totally fine to do that. You know, we have had days before too, where it's like, you know what? We don't really feel like doing this today. We're just not feeling it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's when we'll like do some baking, play some games, watch a documentary, you know, it's totally fine to take time off. That's life.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to take some breaks sometimes.
It's very true. I have this thing in my mind where it's like, I always give myself 2 to 3 days a month where it's like, it doesn't matter, you know, like it doesn't have to matter every single day, you know, I can break up the monotony. And so there's always 2 to 3 days in the month where I just feel like I'm just giving myself permission to let it go for a day. And that was actually today. Today.
Oh, really?
When the kids woke up, I said, free day.
Nice.
I was totally like, oh, I can't get through the monotony today. Like, and some days it feels like monotony, and some days it's all joyful. But like the days where you're just like already tell you're slugging along, it's like you guys get to do what you want, you know, all day. So that was today.
So a couple of thoughts about that though.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between thinking, okay, we're doing school now, and now we're not doing school. Because something that I want my kids to take away from when they leave our home is you're learning all the time. You're learning in every circumstance. And so I don't want them to be like, okay, we're doing school now. Okay, now are we done with school? Okay, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I want them to realize that life is learning. You're always having these experiences. You're always learning from those experiences. You can learn from anyone that you come in contact with, and just enjoy learning and have those experiences and be grateful for them and do something with them. Like you're learning things for a specific reason. Maybe you'll use it down the road somehow in your career. Maybe you'll use it to help someone else down the road that you meet, you know. But I think making that distinguish, because even when you do take a free day, sometimes in my mind I have to let that go of like, oh my goodness, we didn't do any school today. But then at the end of the day, I think, okay, like I had these really great experiences with the kids. You know, we learned how to do this. We tried this new thing. You know what I mean? And so all of that is learning, you know, which I think is really awesome. And so, and then the other thing too is sometimes we are out during the day, like we'll be out hiking a trail or something. And adults are always like, oh, do your kids have the day off? I'll be like, oh no, we homeschool. But they kind of look at me like, I don't really see you homeschooling, you know what I mean? But, you know, people have told me a lot. They're like, aren't you scared if you take a day off that your kids are going to be behind? And isn't that like an interesting thought?
Behind from what?
I'm like, behind how? Like, I don't understand what that means. Like, sometimes I think we think, okay, at school, they are learning 7 hours a day. And if you miss a day, all the kids are here and now your kid is going to be here. Yeah. And I'm kind of like, I don't really see it that way. I can look at a classroom in school and the kids are like this. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think we have to just kind of let it go, that if we do take a day off or we take a break, like your kids aren't going to be behind. Everyone is learning at their own pace and in their own way. We put so much pressure on ourselves. Like, we don't want our kids to be behind.
Yes.
I don't even know what that means.
I know.
You
And
know?
I feel like the further you get into homeschool, you realize like there is no checklist that makes your kid up to par with the next kid. You know, it's like your child is progressing and they're going to keep progressing, and they're, regardless of what you do, your child, short of completely neglecting them, will continue to progress on the free days, on the not free days. Because I was just telling my daughter that, she goes, so when is our free day over? And I go, well, you're learning all day. And so, and she goes, yeah, but when is this free day over? And I said, it's never over, because no matter what you're doing, you're learning. And she needed like it into this, inside this box, like, you have 2 more hours of this free day. And I said, no, like, no matter what you're doing, you look at everything you've chosen to do today. It's all been learning. And the rest of the day, it's going to continue to be learning, whatever you're doing. So anyways, I think you're right as far as like children are inclined to progress regardless of anything we do. And I think schools kind of get a lot of credit for that, where it's like, no, that's human nature to continue to, you know, it's natural for a baby to progress from crawling to walking, from babbling to talking. That kids just naturally are inclined to progress to the next level. So.
And it's interesting when you do give your kids a whole day or a half day or whatever the schedule is, it's really interesting to see what they choose to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because this is the thing. We have a lot of our kids' friends that are bored. Mm-hmm. You know, they're like, well, what is there to do? I'm bored. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, and then what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so then, like, I don't know, like, there's just nothing to do. I don't know what to do. There's nothing to do. It drives me bonkers.
Yeah.
You know? But honestly, if you just let your kids have a free day and they understand that they're in control of that, right? Mm-hmm. They're not waiting to be entertained. They're not waiting for mom to say, okay, well, why don't you do this? Okay, yes. And then next, why don't you do this? And then why don't you do this? If you just give them the free day, they're never bored.
Yes.
Like, our kids are never bored, you know? Yeah. They could go the whole day, you know, and it's so interesting to see what they do. I'll have a kid kind of wrapped up in a hammock outside, hanging from a tree, reading a book. And then I'll have Anna at the table trying to sew something on her sewing machine. And then she's in the kitchen trying to bake. And then they're building a fort in the basement. And then but it's like, that's like the magic and beauty of homeschooling and childhood and just learning to manage yourself, you know? Yeah. But I see a lot of kids, I think it's just really prevalent where when kids are at school and things are so scheduled for them and things are just, okay, now we're doing this. Mm-hmm. And then at this time, then we're doing this. And then, okay, you can play for 15 minutes at recess and then we have to go here. Like, when it's so scheduled like that, when they're left to themselves, they don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that goes into adulthood. I see university students doing that. They come out of high school where it's so scheduled, then they get on their own. They don't know what to do. They can't function.
And they have entertainment. That's when, like, I feel like a big issue in our society right now is people numbing out because they are so scheduled. And then you're like, I need a break. So what am I going to do? I'm going to like not think. I'm not going to do anything productive because I've been in this rigid schedule for so long. Let's just like watch shows and eat food. And, you know, it's just, and then like their whole purpose of their life are these extremes of like stress, go, go, go. And then the other extreme of just veg and do nothing. And so then like the individuality, like the self-discovery, the self-improvement disappears because you're living on those sides of the spectrum. You know, it's one extreme or the other. And I think too, for kids, it's like they're scheduled at school, but then they come home and it's, you know, go to dance, go to soccer, and they don't have any of that downtime for self-discovery, which to me is a huge benefit to homeschool, is having that time to like evolve into your own person.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions.
Okay.
What are your top 3 go-to curriculum activities, books, top 3 things that you have found value in.
That's difficult because of age groups, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
So
maybe pick an age group that stands out to you.
Okay. So you're talking about because I'm sure you get
It doesn't
a lot
have to be curriculum.
questions about curriculum.
It doesn't have to be curriculum unless there is one that you love, or any books that you love, any, your 3 things that you've found like your kids just thrived with.
Yeah. I think it just really depends a lot on the kids as well. And we've kind of gone through different things. I could talk about a few things. One thing was when my kids were young, really young, and everyone was going to preschool, we did a program that was called, I think it was called Mother Goose Story Time, where it was like they sent a box once a month. And then there was like a lesson, for each day. And it was like every box had a theme. And we would spend probably an hour, 2 hours on it. And we just loved it. We loved it because it just gave enough structure for a preschooler, but it was just very imaginative and flexible. And so I loved doing that when the kids were really young, because it really kind of forces you into this environment of learning new things and spending time together and having fun, and the little art projects. Like, I kind of miss having a young Our youngest is 10 now, but I just have such good memories of those days. I could say when we were traveling, probably the thing that we used the most, because we were traveling full time for a year and a half, we took very, very little stuff with us. We just had a few bags, like suitcases, that we would take. But for a family of 7 for a year and a half, we just did not have very much stuff. And so we had to get a little creative with school. But I'll tell you one thing, when we were traveling that we loved was an app called Epic.
Okay.
And it's just kind of like an online library. I would say it goes up to maybe age 12 or 13 for reading. But it's like having a library with you.
Wow.
So we had one iPad that we traveled with, and we read and read and read and read and read. And so that was great, because we were in countries where we couldn't even go to a library or a bookstore because it wasn't in our language. But our kids love to read, and I love for them to read. We all read every day. And so we used that a lot. There's so many good things out there.
It's so true.
Our kids really like current events. So we subscribe to a magazine called The Week Junior. It comes once a week, and it's all current events. I think it's so great for kids to know what's going on in the world, but also in a kid-friendly way. Yeah. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really like my kids to just like get on CNN or something. Like, the stories are just not great for kids. So they still get to know what's going on in the world and, things like that. For older kids, we love Masterclass. You can get a family membership for a year, and we love Masterclass. Or Khan Academy is free. I know Kate did like coding on Khan Academy. She did astronomy on Khan Academy. Masterclass is great for older kids. I would say maybe like 12 or 13 and up. They have such great classes on there. Joseph's doing economics class right now, but there's so many good things out there. But I think one thing that we've learned is you just change it up frequently. So even if you have a curriculum or something that you use that you really love, that's great if you want to keep it year after year or child after child after child, but also add some other things.
Yeah. Let it evolve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of, I found rotating. Yeah. I'm with you there. I found rotating things when a curriculum or a workbook or a journal gets dry, kind of rotate it out Doesn't mean
Yeah.
they can't finish it, but it does break it up a little bit. And then the excitement, I took away some of their books at the end of last year, and then I brought it back in January. And it was like a new book, even though it was halfway filled out. So
Yeah.
I think rotating things in and out is a great
Yeah.
idea.
I would say a couple of times a year, we kind of all sit down as a family and kind of say, okay, what's working, what's not? Is there anything you want to add, anything you want to take out? And that's good for them, I think, to feel like they have some control over it, you know, where if they say, well, I really want to learn about this, or I want to do this, and then you do it, I think that's great, where they feel like, you know, they're kind of in control of what they're doing. And so, yeah, I think changing it up for sure, and letting them choose, trying new things. And we've tried new things where a month later, I'm like, I'm not really feeling it.
Yes.
And they're just like, yeah, we're not loving it. It's not a big deal to throw it out. You don't have to finish it, you know? So, yeah.
I'm in agreement with you. So why, the final question, and you've pretty much answered this, but what would be the number one reason why you are grateful you homeschool?
I have tons of reasons.
Yeah.
But, I would say definitely family time would be, if I had to choose one. I would say when you choose to homeschool, you're choosing like a different lifestyle. All of these other things kind of fall away, and you're left with kind of building and putting back in only what you want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm kind of tired of the school deciding when we can go on vacation, when we can't. I'm kind of tired of the school saying, well, your child has to read that book, even when I'm like, you know what? That book is dumb. I don't even like that book. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to read it. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm kind of tired of the school, like, just making all of those decisions for my family.
Yeah.
And so I think when you decide to homeschool, you're saying yes to basically building the lifestyle that you want. And for us, it was, we want to have a lot of family time. We want to be flexible. We want us to have really close relationships, like the kids having really close relationships and not being pulled out of the family to all of these different activities all of the time. You know, you're choosing what you want to learn about and what you want to explore and what you want to expose your kids to. And I think you're just saying yes to different options. So something that I tell my kids all the time is, just because everyone else is doing it, that doesn't mean that's how you have to do it.
Yeah.
So an example for us would be, you know, Kate started college a couple of years early. She was like, well, can I do that? And I was like, why can't you do that? If you want to do that, you can do that. Who says that you have to wait until you're 18 or 19 years old to start college? Yeah. If you feel like you're ready and you want to start at 16, do it.
Yeah.
You know,
I love it.
And so I think that when you take the school out of it, where there's this schedule and there's like, okay, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
You're opening yourself up and your family up to lots of different options. And then you, like, it's almost like the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility, and just lots of family time, I would say, is the biggest blessing of homeschooling.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I'm in agreement with you. And I have to thank you for being my inspiration, because you homeschooled long before I started. And hearing you would come back, you know, to Utah and share with me what you were up to. And I'm like, I'm going to do it, you know, like you were one of the inspirations. And then you've always been a resource that I could turn to. So I appreciate all your help and support. And you're just amazing. So
thanks, Natalie.
Thank you so much for doing this with me. And
it's no problem. I'd love to.
Yeah. You have so much to share, so much insight and great information you've shared right here. So hopefully many people come back and review everything that you've shared, because it really is life-changing stuff that you've presented. So
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
It was
good
a
to talk
pleasure.
to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a
Okay.
good day.
You too. Talk to you
See
later.
you later.
Bye.